I was driving cross-country last summer, moving from Ohio to Arizona for a new job. It was a long, lonely trip. I planned to take it easy. Small towns, cheap motels, just me and the open road. Somewhere near Amarillo, I pulled off for the night. At a place called Desert Palms Inn. The sign flickered weakly in the heat. Half the letters burnt out. There were maybe 6 rooms total, and only one other car in the lot. The old man at the counter barely looked up when I checked in. His eyes were dull, his smile thin. "Room 16, he said, sliding me the key. "Don't worry about the noise." I frowned. "What noise?" He didn't answer. The hallway smelled of old carpet and bleach. The air conditioner in my room groaned, like it hadn't worked in years. Still, I was too tired to care. I took a quick shower and collapsed on the bed. The sheets were stiff, the TV remote sticky. But around midnight, just as I was drifting off, I heard it, a faint knocking sound. From the wall behind my bed, 3 knocks, pause, then 3 more. I tried to ignore it, thinking maybe it was pipes or the wind, but then came the voice, muffled, low, almost whispering, "Help me." I sat up, heart pounding. "Hello?" I called out. Silence. I pressed my ear to the wall. Nothing. Then again, "Please, help me." I jumped up and went outside. The room next to mine, room 15, had its lights off. I knocked. No answer. The window was covered with newspaper, taped from the inside. I went to the front desk, but the old man was gone. The lobby was empty. The clock behind the counter had stopped at 12:03. When I got back to my room, the air felt colder. The knocking started again, but this time it came from inside the closet. I backed toward the door, grabbed my bag, and bolted outside. The night air hit me like ice. I ran to my car, threw everything inside, turned the key. The headlights caught something moving near room 15. A shadow, low and thin, pressed flat against the wall, like it was listening. I peeled out of that lot without looking back. Drove 2 towns over before stopping at a diner. When the waitress asked where I'd come from, I told her. Her face went pale. "Desert Palms," she said. "That place closed years ago. Fire took out half the rooms, killed some guy." In 15, I didn't say anything, just stared at my coffee, hands trembling. When I checked my phone later, I saw something that made me freeze. One new voicemail, no number, just static, and a faint voice whispering, "Help me." In the fall of 2018, my cousin Mark invited me to spend a weekend with him at his family's hunting cabin in northern Minnesota. I had just finished a brutal semester at college and needed a break. Fresh air, silence, no screens. The drive was 5 hours north, through winding roads and endless trees. By the time I arrived, the sun was already sinking behind the pines, casting long blue shadows across the dirt trail. The cabin itself was small but sturdy, built decades ago by our grandfather. No electricity, no cell service, just a wood stove, lanterns, and the sound of wind moving through the forest. I hadn't been there since I was a kid. Everything looked smaller, emptier. That first night we sat by the fire, talking, drinking cheap beer. The stars outside were impossibly bright. Mark told me that for the past few weeks, he'd been hearing things, Strange voices at night, whispering outside the cabin. "It's probably the wind," I said, but he just shook his head. "It's not the wind," he said quietly. "It sounds like people." I laughed it off. After all, the nearest neighbor was miles away. But later, when the fire burned low and we turned in, I understood what he meant. Around 2 a.m., I woke to the sound of whispering, faint, urgent, like someone murmuring right outside the window. The tone wasn't threatening, but pleading. I froze, listening. It went on for maybe 10 seconds, before fading into the woods. The next morning, we found fresh tracks in the mud. Barefoot, small, leading from the tree line to the side of the cabin. Mark looked pale. "You see," he muttered, "they come." That night we stayed up later, flashlights in hand. Around midnight, the whispering returned, louder this time, circling the cabin. Sometimes it sounded like laughter, sometimes like crying. I shouted, "Who's out there?" But there was no reply, only the sound of branches snapping. Deeper in the woods, Mark grabbed his rifle, but I stopped him. "It's probably an animal," I said, though I didn't believe it. The air outside was freezing, the forest utterly still. We stood there for what felt like hours, waiting. Then, suddenly, a voice called out, clear as day. "Mark?" He stiffened. "Did you hear that?" I nodded. The voice came again, closer this time. "Mark, help me." It was a woman's voice, familiar somehow. My cousin's face went white. "That's my mom's voice," he whispered. But his mother had been dead for 3 years. We ran inside and bolted the door. The whispering went on until dawn, then stopped completely. When we stepped outside that morning, the same footprints were there. But this time, they led away from the cabin, down toward the frozen lake. At the edge of the ice, something half buried. A child's shoe, soaked and torn. Mark sold the cabin that spring. I haven't been back since. But sometimes, on quiet nights, when I'm alone, I swear I still hear faint voices carried on the wind, saying his name.